Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. Why do some people seem to rise, evolve, and thrive, while others remain stuck in the same patterns for years? What if the key to unlocking your next level isn't discipline or talent, but something far less glamorous and far more uncomfortable? And what if avoiding that one thing is the very reason you're not living the life you keep saying you want? Let's talk about a truth that's hard to face, but impossible to ignore. It's not discipline that separates the ones who grow from the ones who stay stagnant. It's not raw talent either. It's something far more basic and, ironically, far more difficult. Most people run from it. They build their entire lives trying to avoid it. But once you understand how this works, once you see the pattern, it becomes impossible not to notice. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why the smallest, most uncomfortable decisions you avoid each day are actually the most powerful ones you could ever make. And why sidestepping those decisions is quietly robbing you of the future you desire. Here's the truth. Comfort is a trap. If you feel stuck, there's a reason, and it isn't fate or bad luck. It's because you've built your routines, your habits, and even your identity around avoiding discomfort. But here's the paradox. The person who avoids discomfort also avoids transformation. You can't grow while standing still, and you weren't created for a life of stillness. You were designed to expand. Every meaningful life begins with a moment of discomfort. Think about it. Every breakthrough, every chapter of growth, every powerful shift, it all starts with a decision to step away from what's easy. You must be willing to let go of the soft routines that keep you numb, the familiar habits that ask nothing of you, the quiet excuses that whisper, "It's fine to stay where you are," because they are lies, and they keep you small. Discomfort is not your enemy, it's your compass. It points directly toward growth, toward the life you say you want, but haven't yet claimed. Your dreams, your goals, your higher self, they all live outside your current comfort zone, and you'll never touch them if you keep playing it safe. This means taking risks, facing the fears you've avoided, having the hard conversations, learning the new skill, waking up earlier than you want to, doing the very thing that makes your stomach turn, because that's where the reward lives. You are not designed to spectate. You weren't made to sit in the bleachers watching others rise. You're cut from the same cloth as every great leader, every history maker, every giant who changed the world. But there's one thing they all chose that you must choose too: discomfort. Choose the early morning. Choose the hard path. Choose to be seen trying, even when you're unsure. Because growth isn't hiding in the place where you feel safe. It lives exactly where you've been resisting. And that's where you need to go. Even scripture reminds us in Amos 6, verse 1. Woe to those who are at ease in Zion. Comfort may feel good in the moment, but it dulls your edge and detours your purpose. So ask yourself, what are you still avoiding? Let this be the moment you stop settling and start stretching. Comfort may feel satisfying in the short term, but in truth, it quietly pulls you away from your calling. It numbs your drive. It softens your edge. As you settle into what feels easy, you begin to drift from the very path that was meant to define your legacy. Consider Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. As a child, he was frail and often sick. But instead of using that as an excuse, he made a life-altering decision. He chose discomfort. He forced himself into challenge: boxing, hiking, horseback riding, and rigorous physical training, not just to strengthen his body, but to forge his spirit. What began as struggle became his foundation. His pain became purpose. His discomfort, the seed of greatness. Let yours become the same. Second, remember this truth. Pain is the gateway to power. It's the doorway most people fear to open. But what if avoiding pain also meant avoiding your true strength? That's the part no one likes to hear. because it's uncomfortable. It's real. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher, your sculptor, your divine blacksmith. Each time life strikes, it does not strike to destroy, but to shape you, to refine you, to strengthen what lies within. Still, we've been trained to fear the fire, to retreat from the heat that actually forges us into something stronger. We're taught to dodge discomfort, to numb the sting with distraction, to cover the wound rather than heal it. But let me ask you, what if the very pain you're avoiding is the tool meant to build your destiny? Think of the human body. A warrior's frame is not built through comfort. Strength isn't born from stillness. It's born through resistance, through pressure, strain, and fatigue. When a muscle is pushed beyond its limits, it tears. But that tearing isn't destruction. It's the signal for growth. It breaks not to weaken, but to rebuild stronger. That is not failure. That is design. And life works the same way. The failures that knock you down, the rejection that wounds your pride, the loneliness that haunts your quiet moments, these are not punishments. They're the proving grounds. They are not roadblocks. They are rites of passage. Pain is the trial that separates those who retreat from those who rise. It is on this battlefield where strength is revealed. The world's greatest achievers, the ones we admire, study, and try to emulate, they didn't run from pain. They ran toward it. They understood something most people miss. Resistance is not something to avoid. It's something to train under. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before he finally lit the world with the invention of a light bulb. Helen Keller, born blind and deaf, endured unimaginable darkness and silence, but refused to remain in it. Through relentless struggle, she became a voice of human resilience and a symbol of what is possible. They were not handed ease. They were handed hardship, and they transformed it. So now ask yourself, what discomfort are you avoiding that might be your greatest opportunity? Wishing you the courage to lean into your struggle, the strength to rise from it, and the wisdom to know it's shaping you for something greater. And if this message speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily, where we grow through challenge together. Abraham Lincoln endured defeat after defeat, heartbreak upon heartbreak, and still he rose. Not despite the pain, but through it. He became the leader of a fractured nation, not because life spared him hardship, but because he allowed that hardship to shape him into someone strong enough to carry the weight of a nation. There's a timeless truth echoed in Romans 5 verses 3-4. We glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. These aren't just poetic words. They hold a roadmap for endurance, for transformation. Your pain is not a punishment. It's a process. It's the forge that refines your character. The fire that burns away what is weak and shallow, revealing the part of you that is solid, that is steady, that is unbreakable. Pain tests your patience. It stretches your limits. It chisels away the unnecessary until all that remains is the core of who you truly are. And in that process, something incredible happens. You learn how to hope, not just in good times, but in darkness. You develop a hope that's earned, not imagined. You must stop praying for escape. Stop begging for a lighter load. Instead, ask for a stronger back. Life is not designed to hand out ease. It's designed to reward effort. And it is in earning your progress that you gain wisdom, resilience, and real joy. So don't wish for comfort. Wish for courage. Don't hope the road smooths out. Train your feet to walk through the thorns. Because comfort is fleeting, but courage is enduring. The very moment you stop running from pain and choose to turn toward it is the moment your entire life begins to change. Because pain only chases those who flee. But the moment you face it, embrace it, and endure it, you strip it of its power. You stop fearing it. You start using it. And in doing so, something powerful happens. You reclaim your strength. You take what once broke you and build with it. You transform pain into fuel, into fire, into forward motion. This is how warriors are made, not in the quiet of ease, but in the roar of resistance. Not in the comfort of stillness, but in the chaos of trial. So when you feel broken, remember, you're being built. When you feel crushed, remember, it's a crown in disguise. Pain is not your prison. It's your passage. It is the corridor every strong soul must walk through to find their strength. So walk through the fire, not with fear in your heart, but with fire in your eyes and steel running down your spine. Face the struggle not as a victim, but as a warrior. Carry your suffering like a sword, not a shackle. Let it remind you that you are still standing, still swinging, still moving forward. And never forget, every scar you carry is living proof that you endured the blow and lived to tell the tale. Every painful step you take is a step toward personal power, toward deeper strength, toward becoming someone unshakable. So do not retreat. Do not flinch. You weren't created for a life of hiding or avoiding discomfort. You were born for something far greater, for the climb, the challenge, and ultimately the crown. Let pain teach you. Let it stretch you beyond your limits. Let it mold you into someone capable of carrying greatness. Because inside your greatest suffering lies the seed of your highest potential. The place where your true self begins to emerge. This is how warriors are forged. This is how you will be forged. But understand this, greatness demands something in return. The climb comes with a cost. You say you want to win. But let me ask you, what are you truly willing to give up to earn that victory? What have you placed on the altar of ambition? Because every goal comes with a price. Every dream carries a silent invoice. And if you're not paying that price in time, in discipline, in effort, in giving up comfort when it's most tempting, then maybe, just maybe, you don't want it as badly as you think. It's easy to fantasize about success, to visualize the end result. But the question is, are you funding that vision with real sacrifice? Or are you hoping it'll arrive without a cost? Because dreams are not handed to anyone. They're traded for. In hours of focus, in nights spent alone refining your craft, in weekends where rest is replaced by repetition. The man who accomplishes much has always surrendered more. That is the unseen law of greatness. You cannot gorge on distraction and expect to be nourished by destiny. You cannot party like everyone, scroll like everyone, sleep like everyone, and still expect to rise like no one. Success is never born from convenience. It does not grow in ease. It thrives under pressure. It requires your full presence, your undivided commitment, your grit, your discipline when no one's watching. So you must decide, do you want to be entertained or do you want to be exceptional? Because you cannot have both. And this path you're walking, it won't be lit by cheers or applause. Most of the time, it will be marked by silence, by absence, by discipline behind closed doors. But it's in that quiet place that the greatest victories are won. Absent from the parties, absent from the comfort, absent from the crowd. That is the reality of the path few are willing to walk. While others sleep in, you rise in the early morning darkness. While the world is loud with distraction, you labor in the silence of quiet rooms. And often, you will go unseen, misunderstood, dismissed, even ridiculed. But still, you must stay the course. Because you are not living for applause. You are not chasing approval. You are building results. You are building something sacred. And sacred things come with a price. As Luke 14 verse 28 reminds us, for which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost? Greatness is never an accident. It is always an exchange. A meaningful life isn't built overnight. It's constructed brick by brick. Every brick paid for an effort, energy, discipline, and delayed gratification. And sacrifice? It's not a loss. It's an investment. Look at Booker T. Washington. born into slavery, into a world that offered him no privilege and no promises. Yet he refused to be defined by his circumstances. He chose not to remain a prisoner of the past. Instead, he traded ease for education. He walked for miles just to attend school. He scrubbed floors just to sit in a classroom. He was mocked, ignored, pushed aside, but never deterred. Why? Because he counted the cost, and he chose to pay it in full. And with every act of sacrifice, he wasn't just surviving. He was building a tower of influence, a legacy of purpose, a foundation that others would one day stand upon. He didn't ask for it to be easy. He asked for the opportunity to earn it. That's the mindset of a winner. So now let me ask you, what are you willing to give up? What comfort are you willing to burn? What convenience are you ready to bury for something greater? These aren't just motivational questions. They are defining ones. Because the answer doesn't just shape your goals, it defines your future. No dream is too big, but every dream is too expensive for the undisciplined. If you're not sacrificing for it, you're not serious about it. If you're not trading for it daily, in time, in energy, in effort, then you're not truly trying. You're just talking. So begin now, not tomorrow, not when it feels right. Start trading. Start sacrificing. Start rising. Let others waste time. You must invest it. Let others chase short-term pleasure. You must pursue long-term purpose. Let others sleep. You must build. And if they laugh, let them laugh now, because they won't be laughing later. Your results won't shout today, but they will speak tomorrow, loudly. And when they do, they'll echo louder than any doubt you've ever faced. You weren't born to blend in, to disappear into the background of someone else's story. You were born to break through, to rise, to lead, to create something that didn't exist before you stepped forward. But here's the truth. Every breakthrough must be paid for in advance. It is never free. It's paid for by the one willing to release what others desperately hold on to. Comfort, approval, routine. So let it go. Whatever is weighing you down, release it. Whatever you're clinging to that no longer serves you, give it up. Pay the price. That is the cost of elevation. That's how towers are built, one hard choice at a time. That's how legacies are born, through sacrifice. And that, my friend, is how you win. Now, let's talk about the fourth truth. One of the most dangerous enemies of your potential. Fear. Fear is not real. It feels real. It looks real. It paralyzes like it's real. But in truth, fear is an illusion, a shadow, not a substance. A projection of what might go wrong, not what is going wrong. It's the mind's reaction to uncertainty, not a signal of danger. And yet, this illusion has held more people back than any real failure ever could. Fear has stolen more dreams than poverty ever has. It has buried more potential than rejection. It has crushed more destinies than criticism. Why? Because people believe the lie. They believe fear is a wall, something solid, something impenetrable. But fear is not a wall. It's a doorway. It doesn't appear to block your path. It appears to mark it. Fear doesn't mean go back. It means you're close. It shows up right before something important, right before transformation, right before the moment you've been preparing for. Think about it. Every promotion, every breakthrough, every significant moment you've ever dreamed will come with fear standing at the door. The fear of failure, the fear of being seen, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being laughed at, criticized, or rejected. But these fears aren't signs of weakness. They're signals that you are standing at the threshold of something meaningful, something that matters deeply, something worth the fight. So what do you do when fear arrives? You don't retreat. You don't whisper. You show up louder. Louder in your belief. Louder in your commitment. Louder in your movement. You speak louder. You act louder. You move forward anyway. Because fear isn't a stop sign, it's a test. And when you pass it, what's on the other side is everything you've been working for. You do not bargain with fear. You do not sit and wait for it to disappear, because it won't. Fear doesn't vanish with time. In fact, the bigger your dream, the louder it tends to grow. That's why fear so often walks alongside those who are destined for something greater. But here's the key. Just because fear joins the journey doesn't mean it gets to lead. Let it ride in the back seat if it must, but never, never hand it the wheel. March with it beside you if there's no other choice, but do not ever bow to it. Fear is not your master. It's not your guide. It is not your inheritance. You are not given a spirit of fear. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 declares this with divine clarity. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That truth is your anchor. Fear is not your portion. Power is. Love is. Clarity is. You've already been equipped with everything you need to face the darkness and win. The only thing left is for you to trust the power He placed in you. Because fear is not just a nuisance. It's not just a feeling. It is the enemy of destiny. It doesn't come to bruise you. It comes to rob you. It comes to steal your peace, to delay your progress, to bury your purpose. And if you bow to it, you lose far more than just an opportunity. You lose the future that was meant for you. But if you rise in the face of it, if you choose to defy it, you gain everything. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move through it. It's the quiet defiance in your steps, the boldness in your choices. It's resistance shown through persistence. Look at Helen Keller, born both blind and deaf. She lived in a world of silence and darkness that could have swallowed her whole. Fear would have been understandable, even expected, but she didn't bow to it. She chose boldness over comfort, knowledge over numbness. She chose to walk the hard, narrow path of growth. And because of her faith and fierce determination, she didn't just survive. She became a global voice, a symbol of human willpower, a living testimony that fear may knock on your door, but it doesn't have to own the house. Fear, in fact, can be your compass, not your cage. Let's show you where to go, not where to hide. Let it point you toward the very thing you must conquer. Because where there is fear, there is usually something powerful on the other side. Don't try to reason fear away with logic. It won't listen. Fight fear with faith, with motion, with decisive action. Stand boldly on the edge of the unknown and take the step anyway. That's where champions are born. That's where destinies are shaped. So the next time fear dares to whisper, "You can't," you roar back, "Watch me." Because fear loses every single time it meets unshakable faith. Now let's talk about the fifth truth. Self-belief is your launch pad. It all starts there. Not with applause, not with validation, but with you. No one will believe in you until you believe in yourself. And let's be clear, this isn't arrogance. It's alignment. Alignment with your calling, your potential, and your vision. The first person who needs to endorse your future is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Before the world claps for you, funds you, follows you, or supports your vision, you must first decide that you deserve that support. You must anchor yourself in the truth that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that what you're building matters. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, they all must align with the future you claim to want. Because belief is not passive. Belief builds, and it builds in silence, long before the spotlight ever hits. Proverbs 12 verse 1 puts it plainly. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. The Bible doesn't sugarcoat the truth, it delivers it with precision. Discipline isn't just a virtue, it's a requirement. It's not only a sign of wisdom, it is the path to it. A lack of discipline doesn't just lead to occasional failure. It creates stagnation, a life that stands still, a life that never grows roots deep enough to support the weight of greatness. But when you learn to love discipline, to appreciate the structure, the repetition, the correction, you step into a kind of strength that very few people ever find. True discipline isn't punishment. It's protection. It's the medicine that strengthens your character before you fall, not after. Just look at George Washington Carver, born into slavery, raised in difficulty, faced with every excuse to give up, to settle, to believe he was limited by the weight of his past. But he didn't. He refused to let his origin dictate his outcome. He didn't rise by accident. He didn't ascend through some flash of luck or divine intervention. He rose because of discipline, because of consistent, committed, intentional effort. He woke early. He studied scripture. He respected his work and honored his process. Day by day, he chose routine over laziness, calling over comfort, purpose over passivity. And from that disciplined foundation, he became one of the most respected agricultural scientists in history. His breakthroughs didn't come from bursts of brilliance. They were harvested from the soil of daily effort, planted with consistency, watered with wisdom, and grown through faithfulness. So ask yourself, are you building on sand or structure? Because a disciplined life doesn't wait for breakthrough. It creates it, wishing you the strength to believe deeply in yourself and the resolve to build that belief with discipline. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily, where the habits of greatness are cultivated one day at a time. What you need is not more motivation. What you need is discipline. You need the commitment to show up on the days you don't feel like it. The courage to keep building when the results aren't instant. The mindset to trust the slow, steady grind of excellence even when no one is watching. Discipline doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't dazzle in the spotlight. It sustains. It delivers. It shows up with quiet consistency and does the work that others avoid. While motivation may get you started, only discipline will keep you going. This is the steady, focused fire that builds empires, mends broken foundations, and writes legacies that last for generations. Let others chase thrills. Let them live only for the weekend, only for the next escape. But you're here to build a life that matters. And discipline is the tool that will make it possible. But there's another silent enemy that often slips in unnoticed. Envy. Envy doesn't come loudly. It doesn't crash into your life with bold declarations. It whispers. It seeps in through comparison and slowly corrodes your confidence. It doesn't challenge your strength, it drains it. It convinces you that someone else's success somehow makes you smaller. That if they're rising, you must be falling. That their spotlight automatically casts a shadow over your life. But the truth is, envy is never truly about them. It's always about you. It's about the gap between where you are and where you believe you should be. It's a sign of disconnection from your purpose, your path, and your personal sense of power. When you're aligned with what you were called to do, you don't compete, you contribute. You don't resent, you rejoice. Train your mind to celebrate what you once envied. When someone rises, let that moment remind you of what's possible. When someone wins, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Let the success of others sharpen your vision, not sour your spirit. Because your breakthrough begins the moment you stop comparing and start preparing. When you stop trying to compete and start completing your own assignment. Galatians 6 verse 4 offers this powerful instruction. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. God never called you to outshine anyone else. He called you to fulfill what He placed uniquely in your hands. Comparison kills contentment, but focus produces fruit. The moment you fix your gaze on your lane, your energy returns. Your power activates. Your clarity sharpens. You weren't born to mimic. You were born to manifest. Henry Ford didn't waste time envying Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, or any of the other inventors making waves during his era. He didn't follow trends, he focused. While others were chasing headlines, he was quietly revolutionizing industry through systems, innovation, and relentless discipline. And that's your challenge: to stay focused, stay faithful, and let discipline shape the future you're here to build. Henry Ford didn't chase noise. He simplified. While others obsessed over innovation and tried to dazzle the world with new inventions, he focused on process. His genius wasn't in dreaming up entirely new ideas. It was in mastering the systems that brought those ideas to life. He took what already existed and made it more efficient, more reliable, and more accessible. And through that laser focus, he transformed not just manufacturing, but the entire automobile industry. He didn't win by imitating others. He won by owning his lane. And that's the secret most people miss. You cannot win a race you were never meant to run. You won't find your finish line by following someone else's footsteps. Your timeline is your own. Your gifts are unique. Your journey has been tailor-made, designed for your growth, your impact, your calling. So stop glancing sideways. Every time you do, you lose momentum. You lose seconds of progress, inches of ground, and fragments of your strength. Comparison slows you down. It distracts you from the only assignment that truly matters: yours. Turn your gaze inward. Work the vision you've been given. Build the life that matches your purpose. Sharpen your tools. Refine your strengths. Because the very moment you stop competing with others and start aligning with your calling, everything changes. That's when peace begins to return. Joy grows. Clarity expands. Momentum multiplies. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because your focus finally got sharper. When you no longer crave someone else's life, you begin to unlock the full potential of your own. Envy is a thief, and the worst kind of thief is the one dressed in silence. It slips in quietly, disguised as curiosity, disguised as ambition. But its purpose is always the same: to steal your focus, your energy, your contentment. Don't let it rob you. Kill it with celebration. Starve it with gratitude. Drown it with deep, deliberate focus. Remind yourself daily, their win is not your loss. Someone else's moment of breakthrough doesn't mean your opportunity is gone. It means breakthrough is possible. And when it's your time, your victory will be just as real, just as earned, just as divinely timed. So stay locked in. Focus. Finish. Flourish. Now, let's move to truth number 8. Proximity shapes your potential. Who you spend time with will either elevate you or quietly erode you. You begin to reflect the people closest to you. Their thoughts echo in your mind. Their habits start to shape your routines. Their standards begin to influence your expectations, often without you even noticing. This isn't speculation. It's not theory. It's a principle as real as gravity. Proximity is power. But like all power, it carries a cost. It can either empower you or enslave you. Surround yourself with small thinkers, and your dreams will start shrinking to fit their fears. Stay around those who doubt and hesitate, and soon your confidence will match their caution. But the opposite is also true, and that truth will be your key. If you spend your days walking with the defeated, eventually you will start speaking their language, the language of excuses. Their limitations will begin to feel like your own. Their justifications will sound more reasonable. But when you walk with the bold, something shifts. Their courage starts to spark your own. Their momentum becomes contagious. It ignites something deep within you that had been waiting to rise. If you choose to sit among the disciplined, your own habits start to sharpen. Consistency becomes less of a chore and more of a culture. You start to match the energy, match the mindset, match the standard. Because the truth is, you don't rise alone, and you don't fall alone either. Your circle is more than company. It's a reflection, a mirror that either reflects your full potential or amplifies your old patterns. It will either keep you where you are or challenge you to grow beyond what you thought was possible. Your inner circle isn't just a group of people. It's a direction. It's either a cage of comfort, locking you into stagnation, or it's a catalyst, launching you toward greatness. That's why you must audit it with honesty and intention. Ask yourself, who am I really surrounding myself with? What do they normalize? Do they challenge my complacency or protect it? Are they pushing me higher or helping me justify staying the same? Do they call me up or let me down gently? Proverbs 13 verse 20 makes it painfully clear. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Wisdom is contagious, but so is mediocrity. There's no such thing as a neutral environment. Every room you're in is shaping you. Every conversation, every connection, every influence. It's either pulling you forward or quietly dragging you backward. And this is why your relationships aren't just social, they're strategic. Your circle is sculpting your future. Take Andrew Carnegie, for example, one of the wealthiest and most influential industrialists of the early 20th century. He was born into poverty, raised in struggle, yet rose to shape an empire that would impact generations. But here's what's often overlooked. Carnegie didn't rise alone. He was intentional. He surrounded himself with thinkers, builders, visionaries. He formed what would later be known as a mastermind group, a small, tight-knit circle of individuals who challenged each other, sharpened each other, and pushed each other to new levels of performance. So the question is, who's in your circle? Are they sharpening your edge or softening your drive? Carnegie didn't just surround himself with agreeable men. He surrounded himself with challengers. Men who questioned his thinking, refined his ideas, sharpened his vision, and expanded his horizon. He openly credited a large portion of his success to the collective mind of that circle. His fortune wasn't born from solitude. It was a byproduct of proximity, not just to people, but to purpose. So now look around you. Really look. Who's in your ear? Who are you allowing into your most valuable spaces? Your thoughts, your time, your energy. Are they building your belief, or are they feeding your fear? Are they sharpening your focus or slowly dulling your ambition? Because here's the truth. Your environment is never neutral. It's either incubating your greatness or suffocating it. If you want to grow, you need to get around growers. If you want to rise, sit with those who are already rising. If you want to lead, walk shoulder to shoulder with real leaders. You've heard it before. Iron sharpens iron. Not wood, not water, not comfort. Growth requires friction, resistance, challenge. So find the iron in your life. Seek out the voices that stretch you, not flatter you. The people who make you uncomfortable in the best way. The ones who refuse to let you settle. Who challenge your excuses. Who pull you toward who you're becoming, not who you used to be. You don't need more time. You need better alignment. Because your destiny isn't locked away in some far-off future. It's hidden right now. In your friendships, your circle, your proximity. Choose them with sacred intention. Curate your environment with care. Protect your proximity like it's a treasure, because it is. In the end, you don't just reflect your circle. You become it. So if you want to change your life, the first thing you must change is your company. The future you're chasing, it's already walking. Go find it. Walk with it. Learn from it. Let it shape you. Now, let's move to principle number 9. Consistency beats talent. Raw talent is everywhere. It's not rare. You can find it on every block, in every school, in every forgotten corner of the world. People with natural ability are easy to find. But talent alone? It's not the separator. The true separator, the rarest, most valuable currency in the world, is consistency. Everyone wants to be excellent, but very few are willing to be consistent long enough to actually get there. And that's where the real difference begins. Talent gives you moments, brief flashes of brilliance, quick wins that capture attention for a second. But consistency gives you mastery. You don't build a legacy in a weekend. You don't rise to greatness with one perfect performance. You build it the slow way, brick by brick, step by step, day after day. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not through applause, but through repetition. It's not what you do once in a while that defines you. It's what you do every single day when no one's watching. It's the daily habits, the invisible choices, the quiet rituals that eventually produce loud results. Because excellence doesn't arrive through random bursts of effort. It's born from sustained discipline. The grind is not glamorous. The progress is not always obvious. The work is often overlooked, and the rewards are rarely instant. But over time, consistency compounds. One page written, one call made, one rep completed, one truth spoken. These small efforts, repeated endlessly, become the bricks of greatness. That's the real formula. That's the real edge. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 58 says, "Be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain." This isn't just spiritual encouragement. It's instruction for life. Because your effort, done with intention, done with faithfulness, is never wasted. Even if it feels small, even if it goes unseen, even if the results don't show up right away. Every consistent action is a seed, and seeds don't grow overnight, but in time, they must yield. Just look at Wilbur and Orville Wright. They weren't the most brilliant minds in the room. They didn't have endless money or cutting-edge labs or perfect weather conditions. But they had one thing most people lack. They showed up again and again. Crash after crash, test after failed test. They didn't wait for ideal tools or flawless theories. While others hesitated, the Wright brothers kept building, kept tweaking, kept failing forward. Their genius wasn't in having the best plan. It was in their persistence. Eventually, the sky opened. Flight became reality. And history was never the same. That's the power of consistency. You don't need the perfect idea. You don't need the perfect conditions. You just need the right habit. You don't need to do everything right now. You just need to do something every day. Because the person who keeps going long after the excitement wears off, the one who keeps showing up long after motivation fades, that's the person who wins. Because while others grow tired, he grows trained. While others wait for motivation to return, he trusts the moment. He understands something most people don't. Your dream doesn't need bursts of intensity. It needs quiet reliability. Can you keep showing up when no one notices? Can you keep doing the work when the applause fades? Can you still write when inspiration sleeps? Still build when no one's watching? That's where greatness is forged. Not in flashes of lightning, but in the steady rhythm of the rain. In the routines, in the repetition, in the decision to stay loyal to the vision long after the feeling is gone. So make your consistency your sharpest weapon. Build rituals that don't just support your goals, but anchor them. Let excellence become a system, not a passing emotion. Let your discipline stand stronger than your doubt. Because the results you're chasing won't come from what you feel like doing. They'll come from what you're willing to repeat, even when it's boring. Flight was never a gift. It was the reward of relentless repetition, the reward of refusing to quit. So stay in motion, stay on the field, trust the process, repeat the step, and in time, watch your consistency transform into something far more powerful: legacy. Now, principle number 10, your destiny is waiting. Your life is not an accident. You were not born by mistake or mere coincidence. You were born on purpose, with purpose, wrapped in potential, and assigned to this generation by divine intention. There's a reason you're still breathing today. A reason your heart keeps beating through pain, through silence, through the grind of ordinary days. But here's the truth most never confront. Destiny does not chase. Destiny waits. It waits for your decision. It waits for your courage. It waits for your yes. Every excuse you make, every delay you justify, every time you shrink back from what you were created to do, you're not just stalling. You're losing days. Days you will never get back. Opportunities that will not knock forever. So ask yourself, how much longer will you keep waiting to start living the life you were born for? Your potential is not a guarantee. It's an invitation. An invitation to rise, to build, to answer that quiet, persistent call deep within your spirit whispering, there's more. Your gifts weren't handed to you, so they could be buried beneath layers of fear, distraction, or self-doubt. They were given for a reason, to be cultivated, to serve, to plant something eternal into the soil of this world that only you were uniquely created to sow. And make no mistake, the door to destiny does not swing open for the casually curious. It opens for the one who knocks with fire in his chest, with intention that does not waver, with a willingness to walk into discomfort, challenge, and the unknown. Why? Because he understands that the cost of disobedience, the pain of not pursuing his calling, is far greater than any difficulty along the way. There are no shortcuts to destiny, no secret side door. There's only one path forward, a decision, a choice to step into the journey with faith, with resolve, with the full weight of your commitment. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 speaks with divine clarity. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. This is not poetic comfort. It's truth. God has designed a plan for your life. A plan rich with purpose and promise. But he will not force your feet to move. Heaven may offer the blueprint, but the labor of building, that's on you. The courage to begin, that's yours to choose. Destiny extends the invitation, but your steps write the story. Think of Florence Nightingale, born into luxury, raised among the elite, destined by society's standards for a life of ease, of hosting galas, of maintaining appearances. But she heard a call louder than tradition. Something deeper than comfort stirred her soul. So she made the radical decision. She walked away from the ballroom and stepped into the battlefield. That's what purpose does. It pulls you out of the familiar and into the extraordinary. She didn't walk into war zones for applause or accolades. Florence Nightingale stepped into chaos not for recognition, but for restoration. Not because the path was easy, but because the calling was undeniable. Her journey wasn't dictated by circumstance. It was carved by conviction. Through dirt floors, dim lanterns, and dying soldiers, she didn't just change medicine. She redefined what it means to live for purpose. Her destiny didn't blossom in comfort. It was revealed through obedience. And here's the truth. You have a Nightingale moment too. A sacred assignment uniquely yours. A mission quietly woven into your DNA. A path only you can walk. It might not come wrapped in spotlight or fame. It might not look impressive to the world, but it will whisper to you during quiet mornings. It will tug at you when you try to distract yourself. And one day, maybe soon, it will demand an answer. The real question isn't if you were made for more. It's whether you'll rise when that calling comes. Will you respond with courage or retreat into comfort? Destiny won't wait forever. It stands at your doorstep, not shouting, but knocking. Softly, persistently. Do not let it wait in vain. Don't waste the sacred energy of your life rehearsing excuses when you were created to deliver results. Say yes. Step forward. Make the decision. Because destiny is never random. It is relentless. And right now, it's waiting for you. 11. Chaos reveals character. Anyone can look like a leader when life is smooth. It's easy to stand tall when plans flow effortlessly, when applause is loud, when progress is visible. In the sunshine of success, leadership feels light. But storms? Storms don't reveal your potential. They reveal your preparation. When fear rises like a tide, when confusion clouds your path, when carefully laid plans collapse and the cheering crowd vanishes, that's when the truth shows up. That's when character begins to speak. Chaos has a way of stripping away performance. It silences the polished speeches and reveals the voice underneath, the one that can't be faked. It shows who's grounded in truth and who's just reacting. In crisis, you see what your foundation is built on. Was it built on applause or conviction? Was it shaped by validation or by values? If you panic in chaos, maybe the preparation wasn't real. But if you can stand firm, unmoved, steady, resolved, it means your foundation was built with wisdom, with faith, with unshakable truth. Psalm 46 verse 1 reminds us with comforting certainty, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And when the storm rises, you will not fall if you know who holds you. In other words, God doesn't wait for the skies to clear. He walks straight into the storm. He doesn't stand on the sidelines, watching your life unravel, waiting for things to get better. No, he is present in the disaster, right there in the middle of the mess. And he doesn't just offer a way out. He offers the strength to stand, the endurance to stay, and the grace to grow stronger through it. That's the hidden truth of real leadership. It's not proven in calm conditions. It doesn't thrive when everything's smooth. True leadership reveals itself when the winds howl, when the ground shakes, when the pressure rises. Because real leaders don't collapse in chaos. They're called in it. Think of Frederick Douglass. Born into slavery, raised in chains, he lived through some of the darkest, most volatile chapters of American history, through the cruelty of bondage, through the chaos of civil war. But he didn't wait for the world to welcome him. He didn't ask for permission to rise. Instead, he stood in the storm and refused to shrink. He taught himself to read when it was forbidden. He spoke truth that many feared to whisper. He led not from a place of comfort, but from the fire of conviction. His courage was not reactionary. It was rooted in vision, rooted in values, rooted in a truth that didn't bend to public opinion. When the world shook, he stood still. And now it's your turn. When chaos surrounds you, anchor deep. Don't be tossed by the waves of noise and emotion. Return to what is true. Don't just react, respond. Don't panic, stand. Let your presence be peace. Let your actions be wise. Let your voice carry calm. Because while storms may roar, they always pass. But how you lead through them, that's what lingers. That's what echoes long after the thunder fades. Leadership is not about avoiding fire. It's about walking into it with steady hands, clear eyes, and a voice that doesn't shake. It's about choosing courage again and again, even when fear would be easier. It's about staying rooted while everything around you shifts. The storm isn't your enemy. It's your proving ground. It's where your resilience is forged, your wisdom is tested, and your legacy begins. So don't run from the storm. Step into it. Let it refine your voice. Let it sharpen your values. Let it clarify your vision. Trust this. When the storm rages around you, you are not abandoned. You are not forsaken. In fact, you are being fortified. Strength is not forged in silence, but in the struggle. And through it all, you are not walking alone. Lean deeply into the God who does not distance himself from the chaos, but steps into it with you. Let him be your steady anchor when everything else feels uncertain. Let him be your courage when yours feels thin. Let him be your guide when the path is unclear. Because when the dust settles and the skies clear, people may forget the titles you held or the speeches you gave, but they will never forget how you stood tall in the storm. That's what lasts. That's what defines a leader. 12. Silence builds strategy. In a world addicted to noise, silence is no longer common. It's revolutionary. While others rush to speak, filling every moment with sound and opinion, you pause. You listen. You think. And while the masses react impulsively, you move intentionally. That is the difference. Silence is not emptiness. It's intelligence in motion. It's the stillness before the strike, the quiet before the transformation, the invisible womb where purpose takes shape. While noise demands attention, silence commands respect. If your life is saturated with distraction, with constant stimulation, with reaction instead of reflection, then your vision will remain blurry. You can't hear your higher calling through static. You can't build something eternal in an environment of constant chaos. To rise, to lead, to create, you must withdraw, not in weakness, but in wisdom. Pull away from the frenzy. Step into sacred stillness. Think deeply. Plan quietly. Build without needing an audience. The quiet life doesn't dilute your power, it sharpens it. It doesn't make you invisible, it makes you focused. The greatest moves in history, the ones that shifted cultures, redefined industries, and shaped legacies, were born not in crowds, but in solitude. In early mornings, in silent prayer, in handwritten blueprints on quiet nights when the world was asleep. Planning is power, and power doesn't require applause. It only requires a willing heart, a steady mind, and space to breathe. Lamentations 3:26 reminds us, "It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord." Quietness is not the absence of strength. It is strength under control. It is the calm center in the chaos, the stillness within the storm, the patience within the plan. In silence, you begin to hear the whispers of purpose that the noise tries to drown out. That's where divine direction is heard. That's where clarity finds you. That's where strategy is born. And it is often in that sacred quiet, when the world is hushed and the noise is faded, that your deepest strength begins to take root. Not in the echo of applause, but in the echo of your own thoughts, unfiltered and undistracted. Nikola Tesla, one of the most transformative inventors in human history, didn't chase crowds or crave attention. He worked in solitude, obsessively focused, undisturbed by the distractions of society. While the world buzzed outside, he withdrew into silence, not out of isolation, but out of intention. And it was in that silence that he gave birth to revolutions. The alternating current, radio waves, wireless communication. These world-shaping breakthroughs weren't born from chaos, but from clarity. Tesla didn't need noise to validate his ideas. His silence gave him space to explore realms others couldn't even imagine. That's what silence offers. The breathing room to dream deeper, to build smarter, to move with precision. Because when the world screams for speed and visibility, silence dares you to slow down and align. Don't be fooled. Movement is not always progress. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're building. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they're leading. Some of the most frantic people are accomplishing the least, and some of the quietest minds are quietly rewriting the future. Your power is not in how fast you move, but in how purposefully you do it. The greatest empires weren't thrown together in chaos. They were born in stillness, in disciplined thought, in private planning, in unseen labor that no one applauded until the results became undeniable. Strategy doesn't shout, it sharpens. So protect your silence. Lean into it. Let it be your sanctuary for focus and formation. In a world obsessed with broadcasting every thought, choose the power of the pause. Think before you speak. Plan before you act. Build before you boast. And when your moment arrives, let your results do the talking. Silence is not retreat, it's refinement. It's not absence, it's preparation. Because when you emerge from the quiet, you do so with precision, clarity, and confidence. And that kind of strength, it doesn't make noise, it moves mountains. The world doesn't need more volume. It needs more vision, more substance, more stillness. And all of that starts in silence. So build your empire in the silence. Let your foundation take shape where no applause echoes, where no spotlight shines. Trust the process happening in the shadows, because one day the world will hear the echo of your effort. And when it does, it won't be able to ignore it. That's where true greatness begins, not in the noise of the crowd, but in the quiet labor of the committed. 13. Identity drives outcome. You can never rise higher than the image you hold of yourself. No matter how gifted you are, no matter how many doors open in your favor, your outcomes will never surpass the ceiling set by your self-image. Identity is the internal thermostat of destiny. Set it too low, and everything in your life will unconsciously adjust to match that level. But if you raise it, if you elevate the way you speak about yourself, the way you think about yourself, the way you carry yourself, then everything around you begins to shift upward to meet that belief. This isn't about pretending. It's not about faking your way to success. It's about growing into who you were meant to become. That's the difference. You're not putting on a mask. You're stepping into your calling. You're choosing to align with the person you know you were created to be, even if the evidence hasn't caught up yet. Because identity is not handed to you by circumstance, by critics, or even by your past. It is chosen, is declared long before it's proven. You must affirm it with your voice, carry it in your walk, embed it in your choices. You must act like it, speak like it, believe like it, especially when there's no proof yet. Because eventually, your life will catch up to your mindset. Proverbs 23 verse 7 says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." That's not just philosophy. That's the blueprint. Your thoughts are the architects of your future. They shape your identity, and in turn, your identity shapes your outcomes. What you attempt, how you respond to failure, what you're willing to fight for, it all flows from who you believe you are. If deep down you see yourself as undeserving or unqualified, you'll self-sabotage every breakthrough. But if you truly believe you were born for greatness, you'll endure setbacks, criticism, even isolation, because purpose gives pain meaning. Look at Harriet Tubman. She was born into slavery, chained by systems, surrounded by hopelessness. Yet in the core of her being, she never believed she was meant to live in bondage. She saw herself as a liberator long before she ever led anyone to freedom. That belief burned so strong that she didn't just escape once. She returned again and again, risking her life to bring others out of captivity. She didn't wait for permission. She walked in purpose. And it all began with identity. Not because the road was smooth, but because her identity had already shifted. Harriet Tubman wasn't walking as someone who had escaped. She was walking as someone who was born to lead. She didn't carry the mindset of a former slave. She carried the fire of a liberator. That inner vision of herself shaped her every action, and ultimately shaped a legacy that still reverberates through generations. She saw herself differently, and so she acted differently. And now you must do the same. Your current situation is not the conclusion of your story. It's not your ceiling, it's your proving ground. It's the furnace that forges who you really are. But in order to rise above where you are, you must first rise within. You have to see yourself not through the lens of past mistakes or current limitations, but through the lens of divine intention. You are not a victim, you are a victor in training. You are not invisible, you are chosen. You are not forgotten, you are being prepared. Your life can never outgrow your self-image. So if you want your future to change, you must begin by elevating the way you see yourself. Speak your identity before it feels real. Say it when you don't feel it. Write it down when you're discouraged. Declare it when doubt starts whispering. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. You are not broken. You're being built. You are not behind. You are exactly on schedule for what you've been called to do. You are not lacking. You are becoming. Destiny doesn't drift toward confusion. It's drawn to clarity. And when you begin to align your words, your thoughts, and your choices with who you're called to be, the world around you responds. Circumstances begin to bend in the direction of your belief. That's the power of identity. So walk with intention. Declare your truth. Stand tall in who you were designed to be. When you raise the thermostat of your self-worth, your environment has no choice but to rise and match it. Because the moment you fully embrace your identity, you begin to activate your destiny. And that changes everything. 14. Purpose kills procrastination. Purpose is not just inspiration. It's a weapon against delay. It eliminates the mental fog that leads to excuses and hesitation. When your actions are anchored to a deeper calling, your energy changes. The weight of someday turns into the urgency of now. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You move because you know why you're moving. You no longer need to be convinced to move forward. When you've found conviction, motivation becomes irrelevant. Purpose becomes the fuel beneath your feet and the light that pierces through the uncertainty ahead. It doesn't just inspire you, it ignites you. It becomes the internal force that silences hesitation and demands forward motion. Because once you're anchored in your why, you stop asking how long will this take and start declaring, whatever it takes, I'm ready. Purpose clears the fog. It draws a bold line between what truly matters and what's merely noise. It helps you see through the distractions, to say no with clarity and say yes with courage. When you're guided by purpose, you begin filtering your life through a higher lens. No longer choosing what's popular or comfortable, but what aligns with the mission etched on your soul. And purpose is not about passion. Passion flickers. Passion is seasonal, emotional, unpredictable. But purpose is solid. It doesn't rise and fall with your mood. It's not driven by applause or outcome. It is rooted deep like an anchor in a storm. Purpose is a divine assignment, not a fleeting feeling. It is the whisper of heaven that says, you were made for this. When you tap into that sacred sense of direction, everything shifts. Energy begins to flow, not because the obstacles disappear, but because your commitment cuts through the resistance. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start declaring, I can't afford not to try. That's when procrastination loses its grip. Because procrastination is rarely about laziness. It's a warning light. It signals misalignment. It tells you that somewhere along the way, you've lost connection to the mission. But when you realign, when your soul and your schedule walk in sync, everything changes. You stop dragging yourself through the day. Your vision begins to pull you forward. The weight of doubt lifts. The haze of hesitation clears. Every task, every step, even the mundane ones, take on sacred meaning. They're no longer chores. They're chapters in the story of your purpose. And no, it won't always feel easy, but it will always feel necessary. Romans 8 verse 28 reminds us that our purpose is not self-made. It is God-backed. All things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. That means even the waiting seasons, even the painful chapters, are working in harmony with your assignment. So when the excuses creep in, return to your purpose. Let it remind you who you are, why you're here, and where you're going. Because when you walk in purpose, progress is no longer optional. It's inevitable. That verse isn't just a comforting promise. It's a commissioning declaration. Romans 8 verse 28 doesn't merely assure you that things will work out. It calls you into trust. It tells you that if your life is aligned with God's purpose, then every moment, every delay, every disappointment, every detour is being skillfully woven into something greater. Your setbacks? They're setups in disguise. Your waiting? It's never wasted. Purpose has the divine power to redeem the pause, to turn stillness into preparation. Look at Clara Barton. She had every reason to remain in a life of peace and quiet. She could have chosen comfort, security, the predictable path. No one would have blamed her. But purpose wouldn't let her stay still. It stirred her. It pushed her. It whispered louder than her fear. Through the bloodshed of war, through chaos and disaster, she kept going. Not because she was fearless, but because her calling mattered more than her comfort. She didn't wait for ideal conditions. She moved through impossible ones. And from her persistence, the American Red Cross was born. Her legacy rose from the battlefield, not because she planned for it, but because she obeyed her assignment. That's what purpose does. And that's what purpose will do through you if you let it. So let it win. Let it rise within you until it silences fear and overcomes hesitation. Stop waiting for ideal conditions. Stop seeking confirmation for what you already know in your spirit. Stop bargaining with fear as if it deserves a vote. You don't need another sign. You need clarity. And clarity comes when you remember 3 things: who you are, why you're here, and what's already been placed in your hands. The world doesn't need more delay. It's not waiting for your perfection or your permission slip. It's waiting for your execution, your yes, your movement, your willingness to act even before the applause. Purpose is not just a good idea. It's a command. It's a call to build, to release, to serve with what you've been given. So now is the moment. Not later. Not when it's convenient. Now. Now is the time to release what's been stored in you. Now is the moment to build what only your hands can shape. Now is the time to let purpose win, because when it does, everything else begins to fall into place. It's the countless hours spent in obscurity, the repetitions no one praises, the early mornings when the world is still asleep. That's where legends are quietly formed. Not in the limelight, not in the applause, but in the silence that follows effort. Those stretches of time when nothing seems to shift, when results delay, when motivation runs dry. That's the territory of champions. Most people misunderstand boredom. They see it as a red flag, a cue to stop, to pivot, to escape. But boredom isn't a warning sign. It's a signal that you're nearing something extraordinary. It's the resistance before the release. The ones who rise above mediocrity aren't the most gifted. They're the ones who can stand in the silence, who can keep showing up when the excitement fades and the results seem invisible. What defines your future is what you do when the work becomes dull. When the passion cools and the routine numbs, do you retreat or do you recommit? These aren't the times to chase novelty. These are the sacred spaces to deepen your discipline, to press forward when every part of you wants to pause. Because every moment you push through the monotony, you're not just enduring, you're becoming. You're building grit. And grit, more than talent, is the groundwork of greatness. Mastery is not built on mountaintop moments. It's built on ordinary days that test your endurance more than your enthusiasm. Days that demand patience over performance. But these are the hidden stages, the crucibles where your skills sharpen, your resilience is shaped, and your foundation is laid. No one applauds during these moments. No spotlight shines. But one day, the results will speak so loudly that no introduction will be necessary. Galatians 6 verse 9 tells us with unwavering truth, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That promise isn't reserved for the wildly talented or the instantly successful. It's for the faithful, the ones who stay when it's dry, the ones who sow when it feels slow, the ones who believe even when results hide. There's a harvest ahead, but only those who endure boredom without bitterness, who show up without applause, will ever taste it. Because God honors the labor done in faithfulness, especially when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no spotlight shines. And so must you. You must choose to honor those slow days, not resent them. Don't run from the routine. Embrace it. Don't just endure repetition. Master it. That's the soil where greatness is planted. Every quiet hour of discipline, every unnoticed effort, is a seed buried deep in the earth. You may not see the growth yet, but trust this. The harvest always belongs to the planter who refuses to quit. Just because the days feel still doesn't mean your destiny is silent. Boredom isn't a wall, it's a hallway. You're not boxed in. you're passing through? What if this long stretch isn't punishment but preparation? What if it's the training ground for your next breakthrough? So keep going, keep sowing. Even when the pace feels slow, remember that forward is still forward. And in those seemingly insignificant steps, in the consistency that no one notices, you are building a foundation that will one day astonish the world. Don't wait for motivation to strike again. Instead, bring your very best to the ordinary. Bring excellence to the unnoticed moments. Because that's where true mastery begins. That's where strength is forged. That's where you're being formed, step by steady step. Wishing you strength, joy, and unshakable peace on your journey. Stay committed, stay faithful, and remember to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more powerful truths to fuel your growth.